To our Sunday, early Sunday show. This is our conversation with Deputy Presidential Press Secretary, Mr. Smith Tobe, who's joining us from Monrovia. With me to do this interview, we have our guest co-host, that's our colleague from the Liberia Public Radio, Mr. Samson B. Toe. Mr. Toe from Town, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jaff, for allowing me to be part of this most important program, to have the honorable man with us again this evening. Hopefully, he will be able to enlighten his fellow Liberians here in the diaspora who are claiming for lots and lots of information from them. And to have such an intellectual among us here is a very, very blessed day for us. And I want to thank him for even being here for us here this evening. But thank you for being part of this program.
And thank you for your willingness to join us for this all-important show today. Next, we want to welcome the man who's joining us. We've been on a long break, and we are so excited to have him back. Mr. Tobe, welcome to Focus on Liberia once again.
Well, let me say thanks to the team and for always keeping in touch. It's been a very good time, and thanks for the concern as well, following up on our function, especially in the last few months. I'm happy that we are again connected via your medium, and we are happy that we've come in our way to disseminate information through the medium that we are invited, and we hope our being here will serve the intended purpose. So let me say thanks to the team. It is always my pleasure once I'm opportune to speak and provide information relating to those basic things that are very concerning to you and your audience.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are having a conversation or question and answer period with the Deputy Press Secretary of the President of the Republic of Liberia, Mr. Smith Tobe. We've been having this program, but since COVID got intensified, we were on a little pause, and now we are back. We are so delighted to have Mr. Tobe, and with me, I'm honored to have a veteran in the business, Mr. Samson B. Toe. So let's get this started. We're going to be opening our phone lines in a minute so that you can be part of this conversation. The last time we talked, Mr. Tobe, the president was scheduled for a county-wide tour. I think that was put on hold, canceled because of COVID-19. But we saw you went on a tour. So let's start by telling our viewing audience the purpose of the tour, the places you went, and what was the outcome?
Well, again, let me say thanks to you and thanks to the audience, for those of our many friends out there who are viewing us and joining us this evening here from Liberia and wherever you are joining this team at this time. Like you rightly said, the tour for the president traveled to the counties got interrupted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That pandemic has brought not just Liberia, but the rest of the world to a standstill in many of its activities, and Liberia is of no exception. Many government and people who've planned several different activities relating to the growth and development of their respective countries and travels around the world are constrained to make changes to those schedules. And that also affected the activities of our president, who sometime before COVID was planning to tour the counties of Liberia, specifically some of the counties were under the president radar for county tour. The purpose of that county tour, as often, is to follow up on projects and programs of the government. But due to the interruption, the president, team, and the Ministry of Internal Affairs that are responsible for local governance decided to put a halt to the president travel across the country. But notwithstanding programs and activities relating to development in Some of those counties are still ongoing. And so from our end, as communicators around the president, we thought it wise to make some follow-up on some of those projects, specifically projects in the southeastern part of the country. And so the office of the press secretary decided to embark on a fact-finding tour. And that tour took us to few of the counties in the southeast, to be specific, Grand Jide, and then on to Grand Coup, through Maryland, and then to Sano, and back to Monrovia. But the counties that are currently benefiting from those programs that we were interested in were the counties of Grand Jide and Grand Coup counties. Those two counties are currently benefiting from what the president launched some time ago during the first year of his administration, what he called the Popo Housing Unit. That program is under the supervision of the Liberian Agency for Community Empowerment LIS, and they are constructing homes for very poor families, people who live their lives in papo houses or mud houses for many years. Those families are currently benefiting from that initiative launched by the president. And it is expected to go to all of the 15 counties. But currently, 2 of the counties in the southeast are immensely benefiting from the Propo Housing Project. So we started in Grand Jide, and we first stopped in a village called Pellestown. Pellestown is along the highway leading to Zweju, and that village been there, I'm told, for a little over 50 years now. The people who live along that road in that village have never lived in a concrete structure, never talked about making use of anything like a modern structure. Currently, that village is benefiting from over 12 of those units. And it is giving some life to those individuals who, for the first time, will be benefiting from the units once they are completed. If you follow our podcast from the Southeast on that tour, you saw the level at which that work has reached. And it was just about reaching this conclusion or this completion stage when we passed through that village. And then there's another phase of the project in the Grand Jide area that is taking place in Tuzon. Tuzon is the hometown of former President Samuel Kanyando. And since the death of the former president due to the civil war, most of the structures in Tuzon are currently destroyed. Even in Tuzon, that was once the home of a former president, people still live there on a very harsh condition. People live there, stayed in those dilapidated houses, and they've been challenged with a lot more. So again, the president thought that Tuzon should benefit. So in the Tuzon area, around the Tuzon Junction, to be specific, the president, through the Office of the Liberian Agency for Community Empowerment, are also doing some of the structures at the Tuzon Junction. So you're driving towards the Grand Jide area, you will see those structures. They are visible, they are along the road, and they are given to the beneficiaries free of charge. Once you are identified, your current structure, once the structure is completed, the current structure you live in will get demolished, and you are presented a new building, a concrete building, to give you a new life. So that is That is exactly some of the benefit that we were looking at during our tour to the southeast. And then two other villages in the Grand Jida area when you are making your way to River G and Sano counties. I may not get the names of those two towns correct, but they are also in the Grand Jida area that are expected to benefit. Those projects in those two villages are yet to commence. The resources were being mobilized when we visited and passed through those towns on our way to River G County. In the River G area, there's not similar project taking place, but there's a road connection taking place between River G and Plebo. The pavement between River G and Plebo is almost into Fishtown City. So if you are driving from Plebo, you will be opportune in the next few months to drive on a paved road from Plebo, from Harport through Plebo, and then on to Fishtown. That work was also being assessed during our visit, and it's been going very well since we last passed that road. We drove into Grand Crew County, and our first stop in Grand Crew was in Saxtown. Saxtown is the home of the current pro tem of the Liberian Senate. They are currently benefiting from somewhere around 46 of those units, those structures, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, sitting room, back porch, and front porch. That's the kind of structure that is being built. And 46 of those structures are being built in the Grand Crew area, Grand Sets. And then we went into Barclayville and then on to Grand Sets, where in fact the president hails from, in the president's hometown. Currently, there is a total of 146 of those structures that are currently completed. 146 of those structures that are currently completed through this under the supervision of the Liberia Agency for Community Empowerment. So our visit actually to the southeast was to see the load of work being done on those units.
Thank you.
And how the beneficiaries are receiving, the news that they will shortly benefit from those units, and what they're feeling about this transformation that is about to take place in their lives. So our office thought to bring those development to the public because not many persons out there are in the know of some of these work that are taking place in the interior of the country. And we thought to showcase those units during our visit. And I'm sure that it was through that medium that some of you who followed our podcast got to know that projects in that direction were taking place in the interior of the country. And for you to know, yes, go ahead.
Not to cut you off, but before I allow Mr. To to come in, I'm just curious because I too was born in the interior under those huts. How do we expect those houses to be maintained? Because someone who, the way we build the country houses where the harvest is up there and we light fire to heat it. Now, if you put me in an apartment, I don't have that opportunity. How will these houses be maintained so as to sustain and see that same level of modern structure there?
So I know it's been a very difficult thing. Some people, like you rightly said, they've lived their lives. They've gotten very old living in those conditions. Some of them, they are in the 60s, they are in the 70s, and they've lived all their lives in a purple house. They slept in the same house with their cattle. They dried their fish in the same house. So it's a life-changing sort of a situation that they are about to experience. So what I'm told that the management team of the structures intend to do is to allow those individuals or those beneficiaries to build because for the Grand Coup area, for example, people there live on fishing. So once they get the fish from the Atlantic Ocean, they need to dry them or to preserve them, and they will not have that opportunity any longer to do it in the current concrete structure. So they will have to erect a little dryer somewhere along the space provided either at the back of their structure, so that their way of living can continue. But they will no longer have that opportunity to dry the fish in the same place they sleep and open the doors for the cattle to come in the same place to sleep. And so those are the kind of things that are about to happen. And I'm sure that they will be talked to. They will have to go through that life-changing situation. It's going to take some time for them to get adjusted. But again, with life, people have to adjust and move on with what is being introduced to them.
Mr. To, if you have a follow-up, you didn't talk the maintenance as well.
Thank you, Armo, for being here. Like I stated earlier, but I want you to please sympathize with us, because I think we have the time here, and that we please. When we ask a question, please just make it brief for us, so that at least we'll have the kinds of engagement that will be conducive with this program. You listed a bunch of things. First of all, I want to thank you for going back to do the fact finding, as you put it. That's a very wonderful thing here. You listed some stuff here, and as you were going on, I was writing, and I find some of the benefit there for our people. Just to let you know, the Pettit town that you just made reference to is not too far from Tool Town, my town. And then there's a reason why they're called Pettit town, but I'm not about ready to go into the history of that right now. You said that they put a 12 unit of this particular Propol type building in it. Was the building, do you guys, in fact, what is the square footage of each of the units?
What is the what?
The square footage of each of the unit.
Well, I may not be the architect or the engineer who's
okay. Let's put that aside. Let's put it aside. That's fine. I accept.
Because of you are an engineer who understand a lot of the technical aspect of it. So that I know that those structures, the design of it comprises of, like I said, there's a porch attached, there's a back porch, there's two room in it, there's a living room, and there's a bathroom that contains a restroom in it. So I mean, I gave you the diagram as to
when you say restroom, you mean bathroom.
Yeah. So it also got a fresh.
I will also assume that there's not only latrine, but there's a toilet in there as well.
There's toilet in it. There's commode in there.
Okay, so then perhaps in the back of it, you are most likely going to have septic tank, as they do in Liberia.
Yes. All of the structures carry their own septic tank.
Okay, all right. Well put. What is the dollar amount on the structure, you think?
Well, again, those are the technical portion of it. And
whenever I ask a question, Mr. Toby, and because I understand that the technical issue of those kinds of stuff, perhaps it's not something, not that you're not concerned with, but that's not something that comes in your preview. So that's fine. I take that. You were talking about building these structure in these villages and things, what have you. When you were driving through the southeast, how was the road condition coming from Ganta going through Grangida?
Well, doing my travel, this situation has been Liberia age-old problem. So government before this government experienced that situation of the challenge on the road.
Mr. Tuffy, please do not try to filibuster my question.
No, but let me drive you through. I want to give you.
When you start bringing Totman government into this, Totman, then we're not going to get out. I'm just asking you what.
I want to give you.
What was your own experience based on the road condition as it is now?
I want to give you a fair appreciation of what I saw on the road. Okay. So I'm not telling you that. I'm not giving you a picture that is not applicable. So between between Ganta to Zweju, when I drove on that road, it was still pliable, it was still accessible, although there's still some area that stay a difficult terrain to venture, but you still see smaller vehicles making use of that road. Between Grand Jide to Putu, that road is carrying what is known as the all-weather road, because the Putu Mining Company have done some intervention on that road because they were doing some work on that road. So that road is very accessible in terms of the.
What do you mean by all-weather road? What's that supposed to mean?
Okay, so that is even when there's a heavy downpour of rain, even though it is a modded road, but the way it is being compared, it's difficult to get damage like the other side of the road between Zweju to Ganta. So that road was properly done by the mining company there. So it's considered as all-weather road. So it is accessible. It is something that you can drive at a very good speed once you understand the terrain, the jungle. And between that Putu area going to River G, we're still having some very difficulties along that side of the road, up to Fishtown. From Fishtown to Plebo, they are doing the construction of the road. They are putting asphalt pavement on that road. So you have the road is almost into Fishtown. I mean, the pavement, the quota is almost into Fishtown.
I understand, sir. And this is why I want to stay away from the technical aspects of the road, because when you start talking asphalt and everything, then it evokes some sort of a question from me as an engineer. And I don't want to go there because I don't want us to go through that process. So I'll just leave it and try to stay away from the engineering aspect of the road and what have you. What I also want to find out from you is, those places that were selected for the building of these structures, what was your criteria? How did you guys come up with selecting those places? Were they selected because the president lives in that area, or were they selected because the president is from the southeastern side? What was your criteria, sir?
So that the project we are talking about is going to all of the counties in Liberia. But even as it is, there should always be a starting point. So the counties in the southeast were all selected to start the project. So it is not just southeastern driven project, and it is going to go to all of the 15 counties. It's going to get distributed as per the resources that the president will mobilize. But he's promised that he's going to make sure that all of the counties benefit. But he decided as a president to have that project start from his hometown. And it started from his hometown. He has now moved out of his hometown. It is into Grand Jide, that is in the southeast, and is going to other counties and from Grand Jide. So it is not a southeastern-based project. It is a nationwide project. But
one question, then I'll pass it on to Mr. Dennis, and that is two questions. You can answer both of them together if you don't mind. The first one is the places that you guys decide to put the structure. Do you actually know the population, the existing population of that area? The second question is, you as sons of Liberia, very intelligent, highly educated as far as I'm concerned, are you satisfied with the condition of those places that you went through? Are you satisfied? Are you pleased with the result that you saw?
Well, satisfied in my mind. If you see how people live their lives and you see them about to get transformed, it brings about some level of satisfaction. Because if people live in those units for over 20, 25 years, they've made families, and those kids have grown, and all they saw is the parents living in such a condition, and you're about seeing them to benefit or get some transformation in their lives, it comes with satisfaction. Even if you speak to the beneficiaries, they tell you how satisfied they are, how happy and appreciative they are to benefit from something that they, I'm not sure that they ever dreamed about or will have the resources to construct in their life. So it comes with mixed feelings that people will even live their life in a country that is rich in resources and still live in those conditions. So to have a certain president who's thinking about changing the lives of those people, it comes with mixed feelings. Some huge satisfaction, and you can tell from the expression on the faces of the beneficiaries, but it's also saddening us to see that we still got Liberians living in such a very, very poor condition.
Thank you, Mr. Tobe. Let's conclude on this subject so we can move on to the next. And the question I'm going to ask is just because I didn't really hear the answer to those two questions. Number one is how those areas will be maintained. For instance, you buy a house in America here, after 2, 4, 5 years, it starts falling apart. How would that be maintained? And then the second question I'm following up on is what Mr. To asked about the criteria. I know if you say those projects are going throughout the length and breadth of the country, each country has towns, they have villages. So there still should be a criteria by which those specific areas were identified for those projects to go. Because if you in Grand Jita, for instance, there are many places. If you reach Sino, I don't know if you will get to my hometown of Dudviken. So how specifically those areas were identified, the specific town, villages, what were the criteria? We didn't hear the answer. And also the maintenance aspect of those houses.
So what I know of, and speaking to the implementing partner to the office of the president, is that they are putting those structures along the road. So it is not going into the deeper part of a village. So you will get to see most that are along leads to a bigger city. So maybe after the grand.
All right, we are having some technical issues there with Mr. Tobe's line. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us.
And then driving through, they are making those structures visible.
Okay. So the criteria is visible, near the road.
Yeah, towns that are along, those roads that goes to the bigger city. So for example, Peletown, you have to pass Peletown before you go to Toasttown, and then you're on your way to Tucson, and then on your way to Zweju City. So you see the buildings along the road. So
comment on the maintenance, then we can move on to the next point.
Well, like I said, maintenance will be a little bit tight, but I know that people who live all of their lives, like I said, maybe you weren't following, live their life in a structure with all of their cattle, will now have to live without their cattle because they have to move in those structures. They will no longer allow those cattle to go in there to sleep with them. They will not dry their fish in those structures any longer. And so they will have to get adjusted. So those adjustments will come along. There will be a management team that will work along with the beneficiaries until they are adjusted. But there will definitely be a management plan to sustain those structures until the beneficiaries get along in their own proper management start of it.
Right. No, I understand the adjustment that will be made. I was just saying, like, if the commode spot, for instance, how they will fix it if the roof is leaking. But let's go to the stimulus package. We know it's COVID-19, and the president was supposed to travel to throughout the country and was prevented. And I know when you went on that side, you saw, maybe how COVID had impacted them. Right now, they are expecting a stimulus package. Where are we when it comes to the president's, when it comes to the government stimulus package? Is it successful? Where are we with it?
The first thing I want you to understand on the way the government is trending with the stimulus package, and I know that has been one of the major talking point of late, And many persons out there are giving their own interpretation about the stimulus package. If you read what the stimulus package was all about in terms of the declaration that the president intended, it is going to go out to those hard-hit community, vulnerable, those communities that are vulnerable in terms of the COVID pandemic. So, for example,
another technical issue there from Mr. Tobe.
Expected that the stimulus package is going to go to all of the homes or all of the houses in Liberia. It's not going to go to potential Liberians, but people who are in communities that are reporting more cases, and those communities are vulnerable, and under the direct supervision of the World Food Program through the implementation of the Minister of Commerce and the President team, they are working on that stimulus package. Even though it started the way it started, because there were a lot of different formalities that were to be met. The funding aspect, the government had to raise the fund. It had to go through the process of the IMF. They had to go to the WFP. The government is only playing the supervisory role, while the WFP is doing the actual implementation and buying the food and working along with the team to have it distributed. So that stimulus package is not going to go to all of the towns and all of the villages. For example, if a village in Grand Jida or in Grand Cru is reporting more cases, that village becomes vulnerable. And the people there, if the government is putting a lockdown that is going to keep them indoors, the government need to feed them. So it is not going to go to all of the towns and all of the villages, as some Liberians have insinuated. So that the stimulus package, the food distribution.
That was from the House when it went to the legislators and they passed that. Are you saying the president is not going to follow that? Are we going to go with the original one that came from the president's office?
But the national legislature, what they passed on, did not say the stimulus package should go to all Liberians. Okay. They were requesting. So, for example, I'm not expecting the stimulus package to come to my house. It is not going to go to people who are not in a condition, that are considered to be harsh condition. People in West Point, people in Popo Beach, people in those areas that are communities that are reporting cases, and other places are the people who consider to be very vulnerable. People, disabled community, the blind and other people. So it is not expected that the similar package is going to go to every homes in the country. I'm not sure that is what the national legislature passed.
So how is it now? Where are we? Any latest update?
Well, the last time I checked, they've done some distribution. I'm sure you are aware. And again, it is with the parties responsible to make sure that they go across the country to those areas that they have earmarked. I know that they've made some distribution, and the process is a continual process. So as far as I'm in the know of, that process is still ongoing, and they have never come to a halt. They are still identifying communities, and they are reaching out to those communities as per the schedule of their distribution.
Mr. Toh.
Yes, thank you, Sister Smith. You just mentioned here, giving us the government position as a supervisor on this process, and I believe in their supervisory position, I'm sure there must be some sort of a negotiation between the government and those who are going to be implementing the policy, and that is the World Food Program or whoever is going to be distributing the stimulus package. Now, what I want to find out is you also stated here that the people that are going to be getting this are people who will be affected by this COVID-19
communities.
Disease. Yeah, community. Now, what is the threshold on that? What's the numbers? Are you putting any numbers on there? How do you determine who's being affected? Because a community can report 6, 7 cases in your community. Other community can report 4, 5 cases in your. How do you determine what number and how to stop and where to stop?
What I know of is that the Ministry of Health that is following up on all of the cases coming from various communities, equally working in collaboration with the team, including the WFP and the team with Minister Wilson Tape and others. So they identify the vulnerable communities. They also identify the vulnerable population. So whether it is the disabled community that is considered in that category, or it is community reporting more cases. Some communities in Moserado are yet to report a single case. Some communities in other counties are yet to report a single case. When I was in Grand Gila, there was no COVID case in Grand Gila. They haven't reported a single case in Grand Gila. So Grand Gila is still considered to be very safe then, because there's not a single case that is coming out of Grand Gila.
Is there a COVID testing area in there to be able to come up with the case?
Well, health facilities are running tests across the country. I think that's how we are receiving the cases that we are receiving. People are not manufacturing the cases. So I know that those cases are reported based on tests and reported on test results. So based on the results that we are getting, it's coming because people are running the respective tests. I know in Moserado, there is a testing center, and people are doing voluntary testing as well. So based on those test results, and people come from those communities. So based on the community you come from, the number of cases coming out of those communities, you put your community in that category. And once your community is locked down in the category, are reporting more cases, then of course you form a part of the community that the package will reach. But it is not for people to be reporting cases because so people are also praying that they should not have a COVID affected community because somebody want to carry food to that community. So people are also being very, very careful. But as the report comes in, as they have people scrutinize the report and make those report available and put the community under the radar, of course, then those who are there to benefit will now become beneficiaries of the package.
Mr. Toby, I just want to find out here, there are those who are now in the Liberian population or whatever you want, but there's those who are now considering this whole process to be injected with politics, that they are using the stimulus package to run campaign based on whoever they give this package. What is your concern on that? Is there something to it at all, or that's something that is being speculated and there's no truth to it, and there should be no reason for Liberians to pay attention to those kinds of topics?
But again, our community is so gullible, our country as a whole, because everything that happens here, people attribute it to the intent. And the government is not giving food out to people because they are running campaign. We are not in any political campaign period. So what is taking place in the country, it is a pandemic that is affecting the world. And if the government decides to reach out to our citizens and sending a communication to the national legislature and it is approved by the people's direct representative, there is nothing political about it. There is no campaign about food here. The government is not giving out food in return for vote. The government is reaching out to people that are in need.
So are you satisfied with the message that is coming from the government to the people of Liberia to at least dissuade them of these kinds of belief and things? Are you satisfied with the message system that is coming out of the government?
But what sort of message system is the government giving? The government is not politicking the stimulus package. The government is only reaching out to people.
So you're saying the government does not have any responsibility to explain to the Liberian people the nitty-gritty of all of this policy in terms of food distribution, of stimulus package, how they do it, and whatever. With this thing that you just explained to us here, that's not something that the government is responsible to let the people all over the country to know exactly what the government is doing with the stimulus package.
Oh, no, but the government have explained that. The government, through the Minister of Information,
and that's the question that I'm asking: are you satisfied with that kinds of message?
Yes, they have communicated the intent of the stimulus package, except for those who have played politics around it. But from the government angle, the government have communicated the intent of the stimulus package. They've explained to the Liberian people the reason why they even ventured into the stimulus package. And
so when the stimulus package issue started, Mr. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't have much time. And
go ahead. Go ahead.
When the stimulus package started from the beginning, there was some sort of a mishap about some payment to the people who supposed to distribute when Honorable Wilson Tappet went to the capital, and there was some sort of is that kinds of issue been resolved?
Oh yeah, it's been resolved, and that is why we got the stimulus package ongoing.
So can you enlighten us a little bit? What was the reason? What was the cause of that?
Well, I think the issue was proper explanation. People were asking questions that they wanted answers in terms of why the government have to give the package distribution to the WFP, for example. Many Liberians thought that Liberians organization will handle the distribution of the stimulus package. Some felt that it was a bad idea, but again, it was government negotiating funding for the stimulus package. And those who were the source funder of the stimulus package thought in their own way of transparency, also told the government that they could send the money into a reliable institution, which of course is the WFP. So the money for the stimulus package did not come to the government. Liberians needed to understand that. So the funding for the full package had to go through the WFP, the Liberian government. They played the supervisory role.
One last question on that. So are you satisfied with a messaging process that Liberians are fully on board with the things you just explained, why the money is supposed to be paid to people and what is happening? Liberians are fully on board with you based on your explanation?
Well, so far so good. We haven't heard since the package started going around. We haven't heard any misfeeling. Now they know that it is being implemented through a second source or supervised by the government institution. So at the end of the day, those who are also responsible will account to the Liberian people as to what they receive and how they've gone about with the disbursement of what they receive. They will also have to make.
I'm sure you yourself are keeping tab on the process itself. What would you rate on if there's any success? How would you rate the success rate right now?
Well, I think so far the government has done very well. We may not say it's 100% because it is not yet over. We are still in a pandemic. And so the government and the WFP will still have to reach out to other places. So it is not appropriate to say the government has reached its peak or the government has done extremely well. But the government is in the strive and is making sure that this process becomes successful. And to do that is to keep the coordination going and keep the Liberian people informed about the level at which the stimulus package is expected to benefit those who are considered to be in the category of beneficiaries.
All right. Thank you. Let's conclude on the stimulus package. And I like the last question about the success, and you think it's successful. But one thing I did not get a clarity on was concerning the 9 million. Okay, Mr. Tu asked you whether you were pleased with the way things went down, because Liberia government said we paid 9 million. The WFP said, that's just 1.8. And Mr. Louis, or I said Louis, Mr. Fagon tried to do a very good job and say, okay, some of those things went to supply chain and all that. So again, how did that? How was that resolved? Are we now satisfied that the Liberian government actually spent 9 million on this, or it was 1.6 plus just little change,
Well,
or
I think
1.8?
when that information came out to the public, it had all of the players in the conversation providing the clarity to the Liberian people. We even heard the WFP communication people trying to make Liberians understand what their understanding of the breakdown of what they were receiving as an institution was all about. So what the government of Liberia was also trying to communicate, or has always done, is to tell the Liberian people, because some people again took that statement and attributed it to the government being corrupt, not knowing that the government uh, was not the recipient of the funding that came in for the stimulus package. They were also reading the agreement that came about. So based on what was agreed was what everyone else was communicating, but everyone had different line of reasoning and understanding of it. The WFP came up, they spoke about it, they put an icing on the cake. The Liberian government came up and also provided their own clarity. And finally, those who were agitating and assuming that the government were pocketing the money or taking the money for different news got to understand after all of the clarity and clarification came in from the WFP, the government of Liberia, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Commerce. Those who understood the technical detail of that document had to come out to the public, and they explained to the Liberian people that finally everyone have agreed that it is a process that is being implemented, and the government is only playing her role and monitoring the process, and not playing with the physical cash as some Liberians may have thought.
So, Mr. Toby, just for the sake of the program today, if you just summarize the clarity that have been provided between the 9 million and the 1.8 million dollar discrepancy.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Toby, I'm not going to say I'm representing anybody, but I think in these type of gathering where we're discussing something about our country, if you have information that is pertinent to whatever the discussion is about, it's better to stay so than to be quiet. I have done my own show and I have done my own research and what have you. The $9 million came about, which I thought the explanation from the government at that time was very poor, because it did not explain correctly. The $9 million, you remember, came about. They have a number. I think the number targeting individual or targeting household was 2.5 million or something. And they said in each of those categories, they were going to be paying $3.65. So if you multiply that amount, the $3.65 by the people they're going to be contacted, you will come up with the 9 million. And that was my own observation. And I think that's possible because that's the only explanation that you can come up with that $9 million, sir. So I thought I'd put that in there. And it's in there. People can look it up and you'll be able to find it.
Well, thank you. And that's what I said. That's what I said. There's a whole breakdown. Again, people, it's a public document. And like you rightly said, you've seen it, you've read it, you did your own analysis about it, and others did not do like you did. They jumped to the conclusion because they were hearing 9 billion. And again, we as communicators, we also at times have our own problem in communicating the message. But I'm sure that the way it got started, at the end of the day, it was properly explained, and we've passed on it, and we've reconciled on all of the different messages that came out, whether it was wrong at the beginning, but at the end of the day, we've managed to synchronize the information, and the public was properly informed about the status of the 9 million and whatever funding that went towards the stimulus package.
Let's go to another issue. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, our phone line is on the screen. Please call in and participate in the conversation. We are having a Q&A session with the Deputy Press Secretary of the President of the Republic of Liberia, Mr. Smith Toby. Mr. Toby, a few weeks ago, we saw Madam Jemima Wolokole on in the news. She was having some press conferences. There were accusation and counter accusation regarding the her bid to run on the party's ticket. I'm not asking you to give me details about the CDC because I will suspect that you are not the chairman. But when it comes to the president's office, what do you know about the president's favoring Mr. Thomas Fala to run on the ticket for senator than Madam Jemima Wolokole?
You know, I'm smiling at the question because I know there is no determination. Like you rightly said, I'm not the spokesman for the CDC. I work directly in the office of the president.
Yeah.
I know the president is a member of the party. He's an institution sort of individual. There is no decision as we speak. What I know is that the party is preparing to go for primary, and whenever that primary is held, the party will make a determination as to who will run on their ticket. Those differences with Madam Jemima Wolokole and her party are party-related issues.
Right.
The president is an institution builder, so he's awaiting his party primary, and I'm sure the party, once the party endorse a candidate, it become a candidate of the party, and the president is part of a party. The president is not individually handpicking people to run on his party ticket because he's not in the business of doing that. And so he's awaiting as to when the party makes a decision. For people to even claim that he's handpicked somebody,
not handpicked per se, but does the president have a leaning? Is he leaning somewhere that you can tell? You are in his office.
No. As far as I'm concerned or in the know of, I haven't seen the president lineage in terms of want to be in favor of somebody over another person. And that's what I said. He being a part of his party, I'm sure once his party comes out with a decision, it becomes the decision of the party. Okay. And so it is not the decision of the president to favor Honorable Karas Gray or to favor Jemima Wolokole or to favor Thomas Fala. What you see happening around are just the normal Liberian politics. And it is not strange in our body politics. People look for favor here and there. But as we speak, because Mr. Fala also comes from a political party, they all go to a primary. Whoever wins the primary become the choice of the party, and that's the party the president supports. The president is not supporting an individual, he's supporting his party's decision. And that decision is yet to be made because there's not a primary as we speak.
Mr. Toby, you follow closely. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Toby, thank you for that explanation. There are those Liberians, once again, that will say her dismissal, the fact that she, a few days before or so, people were talking about her trying to engage the parties based on the fact that she wants to run, and other people are speculating that perhaps the president really don't want no challenge to Thomas Fala, and because of that, she was dismissed. Is there any truth to that, sir? Or can you disabuse those of us that hear these kinds of rumors that is going around?
So I like the way you end your question as those rumors that gets around. You know, Madam Wolokole was one of the first ministers that got suspended during the early days of this administration of President Weah. There was a conference in Buchanan. At that conference, there was some misconduct in the glare of the president. The president took action on Madam Wolokole. She was suspended for some time. She got reconsidered with a caveat, and that caveat was for her to pay attention to her job as the responsibility given her to serve the country. And again, in the midst of all of the situation in the country. She's been on the public media and getting involved into some of those situations that again caught the president attention. The president hires, he fires. So if the president,
let me push you on that a little bit, sir, if you don't mind. We all
yes,
know
go ahead.
that Dr. Weah is the president of the Republic of Liberia, but also very much involved with women issues. In fact, people would say that he's the president, a women president. In other words, he helps and makes sure the women that are being abused or whatever it is, he seek their interest. Her dismissal, this young lady dismissal, are you not concerned that perhaps this might eat into that kinds of belief people have of Dr. Weah being a person who cares for women issues?
But the issue of women in government, or the issue of that affect women that the president work on as a concern, we're not equal to give a woman of any status the right to go against the norms of the government. For example, like we said, if the president hire you, because he's the one who appoint people to those positions. So not because you are a female, so you come to the position with extra protection. People are being hired under this administration to do a piece of job, and the president expects everyone to perform in accordance with what he sees in the capability to help his administration succeed. So if there's a situation that is always going to come to the public glare, and one minister is always a local hair with her boss, or she's having situation that is bringing our office to public ridicule, the president holds the right to part company because
Mr. Smith, Honorable Smith, we're Liberians. We know Liberian politics. There are those who will say perhaps that most likely this lady was going to be a formal challenge to Mr. Fala. And as a result, the standard bearer decided to, you know what, and even though
let me ask you.
Let me finish my story. I understand your point, but won't you agree that these kinds of stuff, they don't pass the smell test, sir? I need for you to truly disabuse me on this here, please, if you don't mind.
So, even though I said to you in my other statement to this question that I'm not, the spokesman for the party, I may not be welcome with what is happening within the party in terms of the body politics. But if you are sitting in the United States and thinking that Madam Mama Wodokoli could be a very formidable force in the CDC as compared to some of the names that you are hearing, then maybe you need to research a little bit more. Because if the party, like they said, they are going to their primary, we are all waiting to see what the primary will put forth. But to assume because she was speaking on the radio, so a section on the radio will put her at the advantage of being the formidable force, there is something that you need to reconsider. So let's wait and see. Now she's off the government. She's no longer in the government. She still claimed to be a member of their party. And if there's a primary today, if she doesn't win, she got her right under the Constitution to go as an independent candidate. If she can win the seat, good for her. So it is not for us to talk about the president is favoring her, the president sees her as opposed to another person that the president favored. The president got no choice until his party makes a decision. And as of the day the president party makes a decision, then that person becomes the choice of the president.
Thank you, Mr. And that's a good segue to the issue that I want to bring up, because the president has been considered in his cycle as the feminist in chief. So I understand where Mr. To is coming from, because this is the feminist in chief. So ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, if you are just joining us, we are talking with Mr. Smith Toby. He's the Deputy Press Secretary to the President. Please We have our number posted. It's also pinned right there on Facebook. Please call in, interact with the Deputy Press Secretary. Talking about the feminists in chief, there are surge in rape cases in Liberia. And I know some of these cases come to you when you are sitting with the president. There have been an increase in rape cases. People are being raped as young as 5 months old. I mean, I never heard anything like this. You may have some idea about government intervention, about program for victims, and holding perpetrators accountable. What I want you to tell me, as someone who is sitting with the president, what is the president's own reaction to these things? His body language, what is he doing? What is he saying about them? Because I know you are there when some of these things happen. And how does his action match what the government is doing?
Look, it's saddening everyone, including the president, every day to hear that babies wearing Pampers are being raped. Why will men of status or whatever category in his right mind rape a baby wearing Pampers? Why will one even think in this world to rape a woman? And this issue, like you rightly said, is disturbing. The president is equally concerned about it. And there's been a lot of different recommendations on the table as we speak. A few days ago, I think I heard the Minister of National Defense even asking that the government should introduce a very harsh punishment to execute people who are involved into rape. But again, it is something that had to go to the national legislature. I know there's a rape law on the book is being there. There's a Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection that is going to the aid of those victims. They are putting people in safe.
Mr. Smith, not to cut you off. I'm sorry if I appear that way, but this is the president who has the bullet pulpit. He has even a church. He goes to the church. The last time, and we're going to ask you on that, he went to the church and say anything go wrong, blame the opposition. This president can go somewhere and talk about things. Have you heard him talking about rape cases? I never heard.
Several times. Even the president got a radio commercial on the state radio advising people not to rape. He caught his own jingle on state radio, telling people the danger of sexual and gender-based violence. So it tells you...
He called the opposition people doing that racketeers. What is he calling the perpetrators of rape?
You say he called who racketeers?
Those that were some opposition figures. He called them racketeers. What is he calling the perpetrators of rape? There were even people that refer that he called enemies of the state. What is he calling people that are raping?
I don't know whether you're thinking that there should be another adjective for the president to find.
No, I want to see the anger. I don't see that anger.
Oh, you want to see the anger? You want to see the anger in the president against people who rape.
Precisely.
Right? That's the anger you want to see. But there's a law on the book that also needs to be implemented. And if that law is not as strong that people will still be raping children in our country, then we need to revisit that rape law.
So let me push you.
So even if the president goes on the pulpit or walk to a platform and call rapists devil, call them evil people, if the law on the book is not as rigid, as you want it to be, people will continue to do these things, and it will hurt all of us. It will hurt our guest children. It's going to hurt our population, and it is insane to see people still good about doing those devilish acts in our country. The issue of rape is a societal thing. it should be something that we all should talk about.
Some trouble there from Mr. Smith's phone line.
Are you there with me?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Mr. Toure, let me ask you this.
Yes, please go ahead.
You just stated to us, and I think these are very emotional things when it comes to this concept, because some of us have girls, have daughters.
Sure.
When it doesn't matter whether they're here in the United States or even back home. Any one of those.
It is a societal thing. It is not an individual thing.
So let me ask you this. You heard a member of your executive who is from the defense department, the minister, you stated that he's suggesting that there'll be some sort of a capital punishment for those who commit rape and found guilty of those type of charges. Now, what exactly the executive is doing right now, if you feel that the law that is on the book are not adequate enough to resolve this type of stuff, what is the executive doing? Because you can come out and press the lawmaker and say, this is what I'm proposing, and they might most likely try to work on it. You come out and press them on stay home, COVID, stay home stuff, and they were able to pass that. Why haven't you pressed them on this issue so they can give you a bill that the executive can sign and be able to implement in a fullest with a heavy weight on this thing? Why are we beating around this thing?
With the level of rape cases coming out in the most recent time, there are ongoing discussions, and those discussions will lead to some of the recommendations that the president is hearing. So I'm sure that the president listens a lot. He's holding those conversations with all of the actors in our country, the religious people, the business people, the community people. So those decisions will synchronize the president's action. So the president is indeed holding several different consultations on this issue of rape, because it's like the way it is being communicated. Some family people still compromise rape cases, even though the perpetrator is.
Yeah, I'm afraid you go on victim blaming if you want to talk about the family. We want to see what the executive is doing. And normally people run to that. Oh, there are some families who compromise this. Some families don't want them to be prosecuted. But let's wait for Mr. Tobe to join. We have some callers on the line who will be bringing in. One is an international caller that we're going to be bringing in.
Is alive, or maybe put it to be a family issue, and there's a victim. This has become a very serious societal ill. So to correct this ill, we should not just rely on what the president is about to say, but we should all get in this campaign mood to make sure that we clean our environment from those rapists. They are destroying the future of our kids.
Exactly, and we want the president to show leadership on this one. But let me bring in some of our callers. We have an international caller calling. Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, does that all of the issue now before you take your calls?
Yes, this no, we will never, because anytime we have you, we just want to give others the opportunity to interact with the.
Yeah, but I just thought we were going to finish all of the talking point, and then we go to your lines. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we the time is fast spent. Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, my name is Frank Gibson. I'm calling from Paris.
Frank, bienvenue. Comment ça va?
Yeah, bienvenue. Ça va? Comment ça va, monsieur?
Dieu merci. All right, your name. Go ahead with your question or comment. The press secretary is here.
Mr. Tobe, I want to congratulate you for your splendid information concerning the government and the president of the Republic of Liberia. There are strong laws on the book for rapists. It's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. We see 53, 49, 39 years old will be raping of babies. This is unfortunate. Nobody can blame that on the president. Even if there is a death death penalty today for rapists is just unimaginable. For somebody at the age of 30 or more than that, that will rape or that will take birth with our babies or knife us, is unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. On the issue of Minister Watercolly, the man in the United States does not know, I don't think he's actually following the Liberian situation. It's unfortunate that people will blame the president of sacking Madam Watercolly based on comments she made on national radio. It's unfortunate that we will sit outside Liberia and conclude on such issues. Now, if you follow Madam Watercolly from the time she was appointed minister up to the time she was dismissed, there always been some problems in her office against her boss. There are always been some serious problems. Now she is coming out to make us some revelations. Why she did not do that when she was minister, if she was very truthful and sincere as what she declared herself now to be, why she had not made those comments when she was minister? Waiting to get outside before she made those kind of comments. It's unfortunate. Now, if Madam Watercolly feels that she's actually good for the senatorial position and she could be the best candidate, she can go as independent candidate. She doesn't have to go by the CDC party. She can still go, but that's all right.
You have a fair point. You say your name
But
again.
if you will sit outside and blame President William on social things, it's unfortunate on our part. To be very frank, Mr. Moderator, one of your co-hosts was asking Mr. Tobe such a question.
Right. I mean, we are only asking the question. We are not taking side. But your name again?
My name is Frank Gibson. I'm calling from Paris.
Yes, Sam Gibson. Thank you very much. Let me take my next caller.
And Mr. Tobe, thank you very much. I want to take this time to congratulate the president for all of the work that he is carrying on very, very seriously. Under this kind of serious situation, the president is current on salary payment. I was just few minutes talking to my brother from the AFL. He's confirmed that they were given 6 months food supplies, and their salary is already. They are even offering the AFL those who for the US they are building around the Ralphie Highway as mortgage. That's very, very important. I want to congratulate the president on that. He shouldn't be deterred. He should focus on what he wants. Believe me, the president will succeed and Liberia will rise again. Thank you very much, Mr. Tobe, for your work.
Thank you, Sam. Let me go to my next caller. And Mr. Smith, that's why I brought the man in. See you smiling now?
No, I'm reading your comments from your viewers. Your comments I'm reading. Why is he smiling?
Let me go to our next. Let's take 2 more callers, then we come back to you. Caller, your name and where you calling from? 76.
Hi, my name is Gotolo, calling from Minnesota.
Your name again?
Gotolo, calling from Minnesota.
Gotolo, you are live. Question or comment?
Yeah, my question to Mr. Tobe is that so we all, they call it President Feminine in Chief, and a lot of rape cases been going on. And you said the president have a jingle, but I've not seen the president come out vividly to denounce rape or have a strong press conference, because the rape cases are going up extremely high. And every week you hear rape cases going on. So, and in Liberia, the executive set the tone. When the executive wanted Cabinet General to be removed, they did everything possible. So why can't the executive set the tone, even though we have rape cases, we have law on the book? You don't think it will be feasible for him to do such thing? Because once he set the tone, everybody will fall in place.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, let me take one last caller and then you can respond. Caller from 612 Iroquois, your name and where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Kanen, calling from Minnesota.
Mr. Kanen, welcome. Your question or comment?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to ask Mr. Tobe a few questions and based on comments when it comes to the rape issue in Liberia.
You have 1 minute.
You know, we all know that there's a law on the book, but I think people are saying the president should not be held responsible when it comes to that. I think if the president take the lead, people are going to follow that. Because if you can see, the executive is the one that enforces the law. If the president come out, in every week we see that children have been raped in that country, and they just go under the carpet. You know, the president has to take a very serious lead when it comes to rape issues. Secondly, my question to Mr. Toby is concerning the election in Liberia in December. We understand everybody has their constitutional right to contest when it comes to election, provided if you are qualified.
Right.
But we are sitting representatives. I understand Liberia will conduct a lot of by-elections. And we complain that there's no money in the country. People are suffering. We see that. You know, we understand that. But somehow get frustrated when we see people are being elected just 3 years, coming back again to contest another election. You know?
Thank you, Amma.
So I wanted to, yeah.
We got the point. Let me let Mr. Toby respond, and then we'll take two more callers. Mr. Toby.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes. Let me say thanks to the callers. And I'm reading some of the comments here. That's why you actually saw me wearing that smile on my face. And this issue of rape is very emotional to talk about. And every time you talk about it, it pains people's heart on it. And I'm hearing and reading all of the viewer comments here. When we come to this kind of a platform as well, we listen to you. We got some of our colleagues in the central government that also follow the platform. Once we are on them, they are also following this platform. Sometimes it's good that you also make recommendations and not to just badge. I know that the executive, especially where the president said, I hear everyone on the rape issue, the president should take the lead, the president should take the lead, the president should take the lead. These are messages that we will continue to take back as we wrap up on your show. These are public engagement, and it's good to hear from you your position, the issue of the rape thing, and the president being the feminist in chief. He's not celebrating a single child being raped, but again, like you've all have said, this is something that the president needs to look at. And like I said, there are ongoing discussions, and there will be some very serious communication coming up sometime soon. But again, we should also campaign on this issue of rape, because the level at which it is permeating in our society is becoming alarming, and we should all discourage it while we look up to the office of the president to take the lead as the commander-in-chief of our country. So for all of you who feel the same pain that everyone else is feel out there about this issue of rape, we are hoping that we can do this collectively with all of our recommendations. Some say we should put stringent measures, we should enforce the law, we should revisit the law, because like the law is there. Whatever way we can make it work, let us make those needed recommendations so that we can get it going out of our society. On the issue of the president setting the tone, like I rightly plays it, we will hope that those stronger action will come sometime very soon as the president concludes his discussion with state actors on the issue as to how we can approach this issue of rape in our society. The election, like the last caller said, again, it is a technical issue. Some people have worked for more than 18 years. They are opting for re-election. If you ask them why, they say it is the constitutional right. They are not concerned about the capital, the council of election. So everyone is rather concerned about their rights. So it is the Liberian mentality. So people in the national legislature who are already elected officials are opting for election in the Liberian Senate. Are they also thinking about the financial constraint that it brings to the already small country budget? Well, if you ask them why, they will tell you it is the right to do so. Yeah. So until we as people of our country start to talk to our elected officials to see reason to stop putting those financial burden on the country, we'll continue to run our democracy the way it is. It is not the president's right to stop people from running because it is their constitutional right.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me bring in two more callers. Caller with 3559, your name and where you calling from?
My name is Charles. My name is Charles Coon, and I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, your question.
So good afternoon or good evening to Mr. Smith Toby. I have a question and probably a comment. Okay, I want to know. Some time ago, Mr. Toby told us that the home of the president on 9th Street was being willed to his son, Timothy Weir, and he was constructing the property on the 9th Street. Okay, he has said that on so many occasions. But after some time, he came back and told us that it was the president who was constructing the property. So I want to know what went wrong. What was the contradiction? And my other question has to do with the new retention hospital in Caldwell. Madam Seti broke ground for the new retention hospital. Her government paid for the land, and the UP government outsourced the funding, which was in the tune of $14 million. But now I'm seeing the CDC government claiming that to be their achievement, their accomplishment. I want Mr. Toby to throw light on that. Who actually started this project of the retention hospital? And then what happened with the resource swap? Okay, the Minister of Finance talked about the last time regarding when he went to China regarding the resource swap. I need him to throw light on that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Charles. Let me, Mr. Smith, please take note. The housing business, we still want answers. Tavina Cole, you are live.
Good afternoon.
Hello,
good afternoon, everybody. Smith Toby, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to say good afternoon, everybody, and I'm not sure if it's easy for Smith Toby. This is Tavina Cole calling from Texas. I followed you very closely. I think you've been on FOL twice or so. I follow your discussion, and I also listen to you also on KMTV. The issue are you saying that you're taking notes to the president. That has been your line for a while. You've been on this show a couple of times, and every time the issue of RIF comes up, you say, we're taking notes and we're taking this feedback. You need to cut that off. Let me tell you something. Enough of the taking notes. You need to act. The president needs to act as well as the people around it. This is too much. It is out of hand to defend the president and your leadership and say that, oh, you know, he has a jingle. That is unacceptable. More action beyond jingle. We're having those discussions. It is unacceptable. Hear me now, hear me loud. It is unacceptable. Your neighbors around you are doing state of emergency. I know the president is not fond of public speaking. I've been old enough to be around to listen that he's not fond of public speaking. But there are certain things that you must do and you must come forth to speak. I am not a public speaker as well. But if I was in his role, I would gather the courage to speak to my people on issues that matter, which is this RIP issue. You guys have called state of emergency more than 3 or 4 times. He spoke to the nation about that. He's extended it now. Why mute on this? And you defend to say that, oh, he has a jingle. Jingle is not enough. Jingle does not substitute for his voice. Jingle does not substitute for being clear enough, enforcing the law and sounding that message and reinforcing words to the perpetrator and to the other party. So take the word back to your president, the president of Liberia, President Weir. We need action. I am serious. We need action.
Thank you, Tabina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring in one more caller, Smith, and then you can respond. Mr. Kessley Double, you are live.
Thanks very much, Mr. Josh. Thanks for the recognition. and thanks to your guest, Mr. Tobe, in studio. Mr. Tobe, I hope this time around, whatsoever you will say on this platform will not counter react for you tomorrow when you go back to your job. Because the last time we pressurized you, you said some things that actually went against you. I know the job comes with pressure. It is not easy. This is where you find yourself. I don't know if you enjoying it or what. I really don't know. But let me ask you this question, Mr. Tobe.
Yes, please do.
Don't you think that first of all, I want to know, how do you feel about this government, this CDC-led government? How can you grade this government? And if so, in your right mind, don't you think that things that are going on in this government might haunt you guys tomorrow negatively, especially the level of corruption, like the other caller just said? The president just sit there and say nothing when these things are happening, and you guys who are spokesmen for him come on and say some decent things, but then he himself, who is the president, is not even speaking. He doesn't say anything when these things happen. I mean, what are you guys very up to? Don't he listen to you guys when you're advising sometimes? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take Jackie Saya. Jackie, you are live.
Yes, hi. Hello, Mr. Tobe. How are you?
I'm good. Mr. Tobe, the little speaking to you.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
So Mr. Tobe, my question is, you say that the government and the president, they're aware of the rapes and the horrific treatment meted out to children and women in our country. I just wanted to bring your attention to the budget. The budget for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection was slated for $1,751,633, right? In the recast budget, it went down to $1,677,000. The transfer to the Empowerment Center for Disadvantaged Women and Girls, the allocation was $15,000 4 years ago. It is now down to $9,632. The transfer to the Division of Community Welfare in 2016, it was $10,165. Today, it is $3,621, and for 2021, it's projected to be $2,860. Can you please explain to us the correlation between the interest of the women and children and the disadvantaged people in Liberia and a decrease in the allocation in the budget for these areas that directly affect women and children? Thank you. I will go off the air and I will await your explanation.
Thank you, Madam Saya. Let me take my last caller. That's Amos George calling from Atlanta, Georgia. Amos,
yes. Thank you, Dennis, and to your guests in studio. I got a few questions for Mr. Tobe.
You have 1 minute.
The first question is the coronavirus. The government said they are fighting coronavirus. And I recently saw the chairman of the CDC party touring Grand Gilead and Sano, and the people I saw around them, no mask, no social distancing. Then the last time, Thomas Fowler had a party where this girl was shot and killed. Now, that's one question. What is government is doing? What is the message that the government is sending? If you say you are fighting the virus, it's serious, and you got people who are in government now observing these rules, what is the message sent out to the public? Second, the stimulus package. LEC said that they were going to give people $20 each, those who were identified. Are those people receiving the $20 worth of current, Mr. Tobe? Because that was LEC said that they were going to give people current who were identified, vulnerable people, $20 each. Are those people receiving that package? Then my last question to you. This is very dear to me because all my children are girls. We are constantly hearing this thing. We continue to hear this thing. Rape. The government is trying. The government is doing this. But my question to you, the Minister of Justice, the Solicitor General, what are the people doing to prosecute the perpetrators? They said if or the weird government, can they set up a fast track court to prosecute these people who are going around raping mothers, children, and our children in Liberia? Why, President Weah, cannot set up a fast track court? Or why, if the Minister of Justice or the Solicitor General, the Attorney General, they are not doing the job, why can't he bring people to enforce this law? What is wrong with this government that he's so silent? Is it that he's condoning the idea because his silence means to me that he has sanctioned the idea of rape of people in Liberia, women and children? That's why I appeal to him. So my question to you, why is President Weah so silent, and why the Minister of Justice is not moving forward with these issues? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tove, you got your plate full. Go ahead.
And, you know,
and you heard the two ladies that spoke passionately about gender and rape. They are part of the advocacy group. So just for you to note.
I read one of them comments, and that is why I was even smiling before, because she said she was coming on the show, and so I expected her to call, and luckily she came through your line. But again, like I said, this issue of rape, it is something very, very touching. You hear from the voices of even the men that are calling on the show, and the two females who made the point. It is not about us coming here and promising you that we're taking your message or we are taking note and we'll communicate your information to the government or to the president. My response to the question that I referenced, Jingle, came as a follow-up question from the host asking if the president had ever made his voice. And I responded, I said, even the president is running jingles on radio stations, especially on state radio, against rape. It tells you how concerned he is about the issue of rape. So if the president is creating awareness against rape, like he created awareness on coronavirus, it speaks that he's concerned about the situation. If there's a law on our book and there's a human rights issue, then we all need to take it heads on. No one feels pleasant to hear a baby wearing pampers has been raped. No one celebrates if a child is raped and is reported daily or weekly in a country. So for people to even think that the president is not talking about this, and there is not a rape court or there is not a juvenile court, I know that our system, our jurisprudence is structured in a way that people goes to the law, redress. People that are being persecuted, people that are being arrested, there are ongoing investigation, but the penalties may not be as rigid as it is becoming and claiming lives. So if we are to revisit the law, it comes with holding consultation. And like I said, these are ongoing discussions around the presidency. These are ongoing discussions with our justice system. These are ongoing discussions with our juvenile court. These are ongoing discussions with the actors at the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection. While it is true that they are providing safe rooms for the trauma that some of those rape victims who survive goes through, but the perpetrators who are sometimes on the run or sometimes in prison, need to have some very strong punishment. So if all those advocacy and consultation are ongoing and someone thinks that the president is doing nothing about this, then I think that person needs to rethink. But as I speak to you, these are things that have been talked about, and those discussions are taking place at all levels, and we all need to get involved in the discussion so we clear our society from the hands of those wicked individuals who are still perpetrating these harms against our young folk generation.
Let me get something, Mr. Tobe, on that rape issue, because they say where if you want to see someone priority, look at their budget, even in our homes. Jackie mentioned that all those reduction in the budget when it comes to those kind of areas. So it's hard to match that against the president's action and the anger that I talk about that we need to see.
So the budget is prepared by the executive. It goes to the people's direct representative at the national legislature. They prioritize the budget. Even in the anger of the country, people still see different priorities, as they go about allotting to the budget. One part of our governance system that is besides the donor funding that go to the Ministry of Gender. I worked at the Gender Ministry several times, some years back in the communication section. So I understand how much donor funding goes there, but it is not about the donor funding, it's about how much support the government herself gave the ministry to combat the issue of rape and other sexual gender-based violence perpetrated against women and children. So if our national legislature needs to do more, then we need
Mr. Smith.
In the way. Let me just lay on it.
I hate to interrupt, but let me bring you to this point very quickly.
Let me just land on this one, and you come up with the question, so that we can prioritize the issue on the national level. But if the budget, for example, that goes to gender, it is not in the sum that will create awareness and that will stop people. How much money do we even put into gender that will stop men in their homes from raping our kids? Even if you take the entire country budget and put it into gender ministry, will that stop those men who are raping children in their respective homes, towns, and villages? Will that stop them? So there should be something stronger than just the budget that goes to the Ministry of Gender. And if that is to be advocated for, then we want to do the advocacy and not to put the blame on the president because he's not speaking about rape.
Mr. Smith, I don't believe the callers are putting the blame on the president per se. Here is what is bothering me, and I believe it's bothering most of the viewer as well. This is a national security issue. This is a safety issue. Our sisters, our mothers, daughters, that's the issue. Some of us want to migrate back home. We got kids, girls. And these things are happening. It's very painful to most of us. Now, here's some of the things that I want you to understand here. I hope you have sympathy for those brothers and sisters that are speaking on this issue. When the president saw the need to save Liberia with the COVID-19, he was able to spearhead to go to the people to make law to save Liberians. If the presidents feel that, forget about the budget for a minute, because the budget is a negotiation process. I understand that. But if the president put forward setting legislative process and say, this is what I think is happening in Liberia, and we need to move that forward, instead of having a consultation issue. When will this conversation be over for the implementation process of this law? Talk to these people, let them pass the law. The president can do that. You know our lawmaker. What thing that we have sent to the lawmaker and they have rejected it and went. Those things don't happen. But this is very important to many of our sisters, mothers, and daughters. Mr. Smith, you're a very young man, highly educated, very intelligent. You cannot allow these kinds of stuff serving in the government, and I'm not blaming the government. But you guys need to push this thing as much as you can, that the rape issue in Liberia becomes something that will be resolved very quickly. So please help us on that.
Yeah, so like I rightly said, and now it is becoming, the way it is going. The victims are out there, the perpetrators, some are on the run, and it is a very serious situation. Like you talk about it, the government will listen to it. Like you said it, like the females and the males, you and others who have made these points on the issue of rape. No one is going to lean back on those points. These are very serious points, and as we listen. It is not for me to sit here on this platform and tell you, say, this is what will happen immediately. But again, I'm here, and I'm sure all of us in the government are following your podcast. They are listening to your points as well. And it is good that you are all speaking and urging the government to do more than what it is doing. So these are the beauty of the kind of conversation that we all come here to hold. We bring our emotion here, and we make recommendation to our government. So I want to show you that it is not just for me to listen. There are others who are also following this conversation. So as we go in and follow the conversation, you never tell who's following your show and who's taking your points. We are civil, and your points are well taken. Let's see what action government take in this direction.
Okay, and the next time you appear, we're going to follow up on this. Let's end with two news stories that we read in the paper. Number one, that there's a $1.9 million bulletproof car for President Weah. We want you to confirm that if that's true or not in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic. And we also saw in the news that the president was at a church. I forgot the name of the church. I can put that link. And he's blaming the opposition. Say if there's anything bad in the country, blame the opposition. What's your reaction to those two news stories?
So let me go back to the one at the church. Did you research that story?
I read it on CNN. That's the news I'm referring to.
So let me tell you how some of our journalists are very lazy. Mm-hmm. And because we are lazy, to put
Mr.
all of
Toby,
you,
Mr. Toby.
No,
Mr.
but listen
Toby.
to me. No.
You cannot just throw words around. People just like you. You're doing your job. They're doing their job.
No, listen. Give me a point.
That's something
let me land.
I don't think that's something.
But let me land. Let me land on my issue. Let me land to the issue. Let me land to the issue. If what I'm about to say make no sense for you, then better. Because even the quotation that is being referenced is a wrong quotation.
Okay.
If somebody said the president spoke at a church, the reference June 7, 2020. I read that story. And you guys, some of you that said in the United States, believe these stories and take it to be true. So
that's why we are asking you, because we want to confirm.
Well, so I want to provide the information, and he's asking me that, I should not get involved into that. The president have never gone to church until today, since COVID, since the state of emergency. This Sunday is the only day that President Weah went to church. So to even speak to that report in the GNN newspaper on June 7th, that the president went to the City of Hope Church and made a comment that if anything goes wrong, you should blame the opposition. The president has never gone to church since he announced state of emergency until today. This day that I'm speaking to you is the only day. So the president did not make that statement on June 7th. I can confirm to you that the president made that statement in 2018. In 2018, December 4th. 2018, the 4th day of December, when President Weah has just returned from Senegal. The country was under immense protest. You need to go back. Now I ask you whether you research the story. 2018, December 4th, the president of Liberia returned from Senegal. He came into the country when there was this big news about the alleged $16 billion. People were protesting. Students were protesting for situation at the University of Liberia. There were a series of different protests, some organized by the opposition. When the president came back from Senegal in December 2018, he went to a church, at a worship service at the church. And it was at that service in 2018 that President Weah made a statement that the country was engulfed with a lot of protests sponsored by the opposition. So if anything goes wrong, we should blame the opposition The president did not make the statement on June 7, 2020, as reported by that paper that you referenced. So I'm just trying to tell you that somebody went on the executive mansion page and took the video and rebroadcast the video. That video was being rebroadcast, and then everybody took the story to say the president went to a church on June 7th. President, we have never gone to any service except today, since COVID broke out and he declared a state of emergency. So that story was listed.
The point, my reason of interrupting, because these type of platforms, they consider themselves to be intellectual. And you heard most of the sisters and brothers that were speaking here, they were not speaking based on anger. They were speaking based on their emotion and what have you. So the only reason why I interjected was the fact that when you start calling other people that are doing their job, even if you don't agree with it, but to use the word that they're being lazy is degrading. And people in your position, hold on now. I'll let you.
They haven't helped you. They haven't helped you.
Let me just finish.
And they haven't helped some of the viewers.
Mr.
Because
Smith,
every all you send of misinformation out there
during the whole program.
You're harming the public.
Let me finish. What I'm saying is people in your position, and that's always make this reference because I know you're highly educated, very intelligent, to now go into the gutter of calling people lazy. I think that's supposed to be below you. And that's not your character. You can't force yourself in those characters that doesn't fit you. And that's the only reason why I interjected, sir. Go ahead.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are almost concluding with Mr. Smith Tobe. So, Mr. Tobe talked about the blame the opposition. He said that was in 2018. We get that. And he spoke about the context. So, Mr. Tobe, thanks for the clarification. We lost him. We hope Mr. Tobe will call back, but we are almost to close. Sorry, we've not been reading the comments. I know there are some interesting comments here, and I see one comment here for Jemima Wolokoli. Say, my appeal to Liberian women is to stand up for the protection of their children. There is no one in Liberia who can do it better than us. The gender ministry is dead. We need a law that will end rapes in Liberia without sympathy or freedom. And Jemima Wolokali, if you are the Jemima Wolokali that we are talking about in the news story, please inbox us. We want to talk to you so we can have this thing. Mark makes us say, I don't blame you and your bosses, but the women of Liberia, even those women at the capital are not representing our babies. Telco said the GOL is rather lazy on sexual and gender violence issues. More comments. Abel Wednesday Smith, we hope you pass on this information to the president regarding the increase in rape cases. This rape issue, Cheryl Ressy, what they fail to realize is that all aspects of life in Liberia are directly impacted with these societal ills. There is, like you alluded to, direct correlation between the budgetary allocation and effectively combating rape. Mr. Toe, we have some technical issue with Mr. Tobe's line.
I'm hoping that the young man will call back. I think, Mr. Dennett, to be honest with you, for him to even come on these type of public forum and try to engage, I think is commendable, and I think that's something that we all are very grateful to Mr. Smith and the executive mansion to allow him to come out here and disabuse some of us that have been hearing some stuff that perhaps are not true, and he corrected today. But the only thing is, I think they need to do more, because in anything you do, the lack of information to the public, especially from the government, you allow people to improvise. You allow people to put in words that perhaps it's not your stuff. What stopped Mr. Smith to immediately rebut that statement that you were reading from that news organization? They should have come out immediately and just say, no, this is not so. But he's going to wait. Not only you was reading it, other people have read that. How does he now go around to say this is not true, except to come on your show to clarify that? And this is where I think the lack of information is really hurting this government, because the government, as far as I'm concerned, this is a functioning government. The country is functioning, whether you agree with it or not. You don't hear people saying, "Oh, the anarchy here." The government is functioning, but the information process, just like the issue with the stimulus package, why are they not telling Liberians what exactly is going on until they get pushed in the corner? Then they come back to call people names and then find enemy of the state. You're not helping yourself, and you're not helping us either. And so I think this young man, I hope he will be able to call back. But I really, really appreciate, like I said, he's a very intelligent person, highly educated, very intelligent young man, and who is doing his best. Now, remember to stay in Liberia and work under the condition these young people are working on in Liberia. It's very, very, you have to sympathize with their position. So sometimes it's difficult to get through with them. I have a lot of running with some of them, but I understand that, because to leave your comfort zone and be able to go to Liberia and work under those type of conditions, I think it's something that we're all supposed to appreciate. And I also appreciate a young man coming on this this afternoon to try to engage Mr. Yah. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I want to thank him very much.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And I also want to thank you for the opportunity, sir, if you don't mind.
No, thank you for accepting to be here. We just got a message from Mr. Toby. Said the rain is heavy and network is bad at my end. So it doesn't seem that Mr. Toby is going to be coming back, but I think we did a fairly good job by exhausting what we wanted to talk to Mr. Toby about. We have a few more questions and comments to read, and then we're going to close. Now he's gone. I think we can wrap up our broadcast for now. We want to really, really appreciate and thank those that have been following Mr. Tobe. We also appreciate him because not many people from government will accept to come on a forum like this to talk about the government, but he is always being willing to come on and give us some updates on what the government is doing or not doing. So we really appreciate that. We also thank our viewers being very civil and doing everything they can to engage Mr. Tobe in a very civil and respectable manner. We want to appreciate that as well. And you, Mr. Tobe, co-hosting with me for the first time, really appreciate it. And we continue to watch Liberian Public Radio. Conversation with Samson Bito was started long ago, and you're still going strong. We are learning from you, and we're following you and up trying to follow your footsteps.
Thank you. I think all of you guys continue to do well. I mean, this is not an easy stuff, Mr. Jai. These are all emotional issues. And to engage our fellow Liberians, to talk to them about what is happening back home, it's very difficult because these are all emotional issues. However, we were able to compartmentalize some of our emotions from different issues, whatever. And I think that will help all of us. You can only resolve issue by conversation. And if you truly engage each other, genuinely engage each other, I think things will be better. I think Mr. Tobe and his people, the government, they should do their best to connect with the Liberian diaspora as much as possible. Not so much of people trying to dislodge them from their position or one position, but they might be able to get some suitable advices from these smart young Liberian, energetic Liberian, and they're willing to give them that information. But you can't isolate yourself. I know politics is difficult to deal with, but you cannot continue to isolate yourself. They got some brilliant young Liberians in the diaspora that are willing to share whatever information they have with the government. Perhaps if the government would listen, that is the issue. But the game for Mr. Smith to come out here and lay out everything to us, whether people believe in or not, I think he's doing a wonderful job, and I really, really appreciate it. I think that's just heightened my level of respect for Mr. Smith again this evening, and I really appreciate it. But thank you very much for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you. I was going to follow up with Mr. Smith because the president said that in 2018 I was wondering if the president still hold that view today, but we don't have Mr. Smith now. And also, you follow the we've been discussing the changing Moravia's name. You know, they have had debates, so I wanted to also get Mr. Tobe's view, whether he had any side or whether he was hearing anything from the president. But again, we want to thank all of you for following or join us at 6 p.m. We're going to be having a discussion on the future of Liberia. We have some bright young men and women that will be discussing Liberia's future, where we have been, where we are now, and where we're going. You know, so join us for our Sunday prime time at 6 p.m. This coming Sunday, July 26th, is our virtual Independence Day program. You don't want to miss that. The theme is reassessing Liberia's independence. We're going to have our keynote speaker called Dr. Patricia Jabber Wesley. Until then, we want to say again, thank you. Thank you. Our men at controls, if you are there, please, we are trying to close now. So we're going to end with our closing theme. We are all Liberians. Whether you have no position, opposition, or government position, we are all Liberians, and we must all work together to make Liberia the country we all want it to be. Again, on behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia, my name is Janice Jao, closing from the headquarters of Focus on Liberia. Our man in our Minneapolis studio, please close out for the day. Again, Mr. To, thank you again for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people.
DJ House of Pain. I like this one.
Human right,
Human right